Hello everybody, my name is Alyssa Cooper. This is Cooking in Quarantine, and this is supposed to be my first YouTube day, but we hit a big wall of technical problems that were totally unexpected. So I'm here, and I hope that somebody out there is able to see me here and join me here. So hello, Caroline. I'm glad you're here. We don't know what went wrong, but it just wouldn't start, and I'm glad that I was here and ready to go very much in advance of start time. So anyway, yesterday I've been trying to, in the last few weeks, month, whatever it's been, I've been working some with the U.S. Census, and so I've realized that I got off of my letter, of my what am I trying to say? Got off my game. We have things that we're supposed to do at the end of each of these shows to make sure that they are stored in a safe vault and uploaded to YouTube and all these sorts of things. And I had gotten so very behind. And one of the things that I realized was that I had numbered something 88 twice. I guess in Chinese mythology, that would be very lucky for me to go 8888. But anyway, so I took one of them and moved them to 104. So this becomes now 105, which means that 100 was really 101, but don't tell anybody that. So, since we moved my Korean wraps from back on 88 or 89 to here, I thought I'd keep with a theme. So, I got up this morning and found a recipe for a Balinese marinade to go on chicken that you would grill. Well, I don't have a grill here inside my little apartment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spatchcock that chicken. And actually, here, let's do this. I'm going to spatchcock that chicken and let it sit in the marinade all day. And then when it comes time to cook it, I'm going to use these two beautiful pieces of bok choy. I'm going to split them down the middle, and I'm going to create like you would put your turkey up on a rack to roast it. I'm going to roast it on the bok choy. And then I'm also going to make some rice. And that's one thing I thought would be fun to pull out and talk about is I am not very much for one-use things. As you see, I don't have a lot of space to store stuff in, but I have this little Black & Decker rice cooker. It's a steamer. It's called a handy steamer. I do things like, and it's funny that I didn't get around to doing it this summer, but I make a really nice lobster salad. And my lobster salad has corn in it, and so instead of boiling water in the summer, sometimes I'll just cut my ears of corn in half and stuck them in here and give them a good steam. It's also a rice steamer, and one of the things that I've had forever, one of the great loves of my life was Japanese. And so I realized I would never be able to make rice properly. So I got myself something to make sure I make rice properly. And of course, if you are Asian, you know that every grandma has a rice steamer in their kitchen, and they're not just making it on the stove pot. And it can sit out all the time. You don't need to put it in the fridge because you're eating it constantly. But not coming from a rice-eating people, I don't know if anybody's done Ancestry or 23andMe, but I got an update recently, and I am literally like 1/3 Scots Northern English, 1/3 Southern English, Northern French Dutch, and 1/3 Swedish and Norwegian. So we are not a rice-eating people there where I come from. What do I know from rice, right? So this is one handy steamer that I think is something that you actually, it's so worth having. And God bless it. It reminds me years and years and years ago. My dad comes down like he did, or came into the kitchen like he does every day. And they always set up their coffee the night before. Grounds in the filter, water in, the whole thing. So that all you have to do is hit the switch. Come back a minute later, you got coffee. So Daddy comes down, he starts the coffee, and he comes back a couple minutes later, and there's no coffee, really, maybe this much coffee in the pot. So he goes back to his desk, he sits down, he does a few more things, he comes back. There's still no coffee in the pot, like, just hardly any. It's like 20 minutes later, and maybe now there's this much coffee in the pot. He comes in, he says, Sue, the coffee pot is broken. She says, Dickie, it can't be broken. It is literally a brand new coffee pot. He says, Sue, I've been waiting for it to make coffee all morning. It's not making any coffee. So they go in together to look at it. And my father notices that the maker of the new coffee pot is Black & Decker. He said, well, that's the problem. That's not a coffee maker. That's a hammer. So if you know my daddy, you know that that is a classic Dickie story. It's like dad jokes, right? That's my dad. But my little Black & Decker handy steamer works just as well as a hammer. I have no complaints. But if you're like, if you are going to get a new one, run on downtown and go to Chinatown and get yourself a proper one. So let's start making some stuff. What do you say? One last little thing is, even though I know that you can use water, and most things the bag of this will tell you to bring water to a boil. If there's an open box of stock in your refrigerator, they only have about a week to 10 days on them. Constantly use them. Never make with water what you can make with stock. Why wouldn't you put a little stock in your pasta water? It's just an extra level, a layer of flavor, right? That's what I'm going to say. Slut cup. Who's here? Hello, Denise. Hello, Ron. What else is happening? Hello, Callie. Hello, Carolyn. So thank you guys all for being here. And so here's what's happening. So I said no more wild quail's egg chases. So when I went out this morning for Thai bird chilies and I couldn't find any at the first stop, I said, you know what? I think I have lots of product in my fridge that already is made with that. So I'm going to substitute a combination of these two products, Sambal Olek and chili garlic sauce, to take the place of the 3 long red chilies that it wanted me to put in this marinade. So here we go. That's funny. I was like, how can you see the wine but not that? So I know one thing I'm going to need is a longer cord for my Cuisinart, unless I get, an electrician in here to start putting under-counter things in to my 1926 kitchen. Here we go. I actually took a picture of my little hot point stove and sent it to GE this morning and said, can you tell me, A, how old it is, and B, if I can get a new gasket for the oven door. They're probably going to freak out and be like, yeah, we didn't intend for that to live for 40 years, and that is really upsetting us. So anyway, I'm going to start out here with 10 garlic cloves, and it tells me to cut them in half, even though I'm thinking that the blade on my Cuisinart is much more powerful than me cutting these in half. So I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to go bananas with it. I just cut up the biggest one, 10 garlic cloves, right? And then it calls for 6 small shallots. So I had 3 large shallots that I cut in half. And 2 tablespoons of Renegade garlic. And 2 tablespoons of finely minced ginger, to which I'm thinking, why am I going to spend the time finely mincing it down to a fine mince if I'm just going to put it in my big fancy new sharp-edged, wonderful Cuisinart, right? And then I'm also supposed to add to this a teaspoon of ground turmeric. Is this even open? Yes, it is. Here we go. So, you know me, I'm just gonna kind of eyeball this. And at the rate this is coming out, we'll be here for 3 months of Sundays. Let me see if I can pop this out a little bit more. Oh, maybe that's better. Let's try this. Now, that looks like a teaspoon. And then I'm presuming I'm going to need some kind of wheeled olive. It says vegetable oil, a quarter cup. Well, you know what? I happen to have some vegetable oil, and that looks like about a quarter of a cup. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, here's this. And this is the exciting part to me. It is that I can now drizzle oil slowly while I pulse into things. That's what the little tiny guy that I had before, that I still have, can't do, is that there's such tiny little holes for the oils to drip through as you're feeding it through, that it's just not, doesn't work like you want it to. But boy, it's great for making stuff that doesn't require that oil drizzle. So I'm going to give it a little oil drizzle to start. So we got a little wet to work with. Oh yes, and this needs to be in there, silly me. So here's what I'm going to do, because I didn't have the chilies. I'm going to start here, because this is more like just pure chili, just, you know. And the other over here is hotter. Everything said that I looked up said if you can't find this, you can use jalapenos. But I'm like, that's a completely different kind of everything. Terroir, flavor profile, and they're like 1/4 the heat. So I really wanted the heat for this, right? You know, that's what's awesome about certain cuisines around lots of water, cuisine where there's lots of heat and lots of sunshine, is that you get great peppers, and that eating hot, spicy food cools you down, right? So I'm going to pretend like each one of these spoonfuls is a half a pepper. So this one, it's 3 peppers. And so I've probably put, I don't know, a quarter of a cup of sambal in here. And sambal is awesome. It is spicy. But since this also has the chili garlic sauce, I'm going to call this, I think if I remember correctly, jalapenos are 5,000, I think, on the Scoville scale. I don't know, somebody look it up and see if you can tell me. Does anybody mind doing that for me? Where is Sambal Olek? Huy Fong Foods Sambal Olek. This stuff is wildly hotter. So if I'm going to call this 5,000, 7,500, 10,000, I'm going to call that. But I don't know. What do I know? I'm just sort of giving you an idea so you know. Don't go crazy with these before you test them out. Stick your finger in there. Let's give it a little pulse. Let's see how that starts going. All right. I'm so excited. This makes me so happy. Like a kid at Christmas. Oh, that's nice. Alright, so I love the color of this. It is absolutely beautiful. Do you see this? It's like the color, I mean, this color is just gloriously beautiful. I'm going to make this and just keep this in the fridge all the time. I imagine like putting it into mayonnaise or something, or mixing it in with, I want to like put it on fish. I want to put it on everything. This is glorious. Oh, this is exciting. So now that I've made this new and exciting thing, I don't know whose it is, but there you go. I've used chilies from a Thai immigrant for a Balinese based, I don't know why we think it's Balinese. Who knows where I find these things. I just look online in the morning until I see something that sounds good to me or that I can work with and make it something I like. All right, so next we're going to spatchcock chicken. Spatchcocking a chicken is a real easy thing to do. At least I'm going to say it's easy, and I'm going to hope that I'm able to do it with some ease and not, like cut my hand off, which is exactly the kind of, fun thing that you guys sign up for. You come here expecting me to whack my hand off one day, I'm sure. I bet you that there's a pool. How many episodes before Alyssa has to go to the hospital? Okay, I'm not going to do it and be like, I can't go to the hospital. That we do not want. All right, so you just kind of find the backbone and you start cutting through, right? And I'm going to cut right to the right of the backbone, all the way through, all the way through, all the way through. Beautiful thing. And so now, when the time comes, I will get the right size pan and we'll just open this bad boy right up, right? And so see? So now it's gonna lay, I'm gonna break this bone here and it'll lay out flat on the roasting pan, right? So hang on a minute, I can't do anything with hands this chickeny. So let me, there we go. Let's rinse the hand before we even touch the soap dispenser. Here it is, hidden back here. Soap dispenser. Beautiful. Chicken-free hands. Yes, very garlicky. It is very garlicky. But there's this, what's that thing that's like 50 clove soup or something like that? And, yeah, here we go. Okay. Hands up. All right. Cleaner hands. Beautiful. So now all I'm really going to do is get that I was patting it dry with out of there. And I'm going to spoon this beautiful looking stuff onto this chicken so that it can marinate for a few hours today. And I might say, this is going to be a lot of food if anybody is in the neighborhood and wants to invite themselves over for dinner. I think that this is going to be something really, really special. I mean, really yum. And now that I sort of see, I want to say the word romesco. Is that the word I want to say that this makes me think of? I'll have to go Google that in a few minutes. People keep saying things to me. I'm like, Lord, I've looked up stuff in the dictionary more in the last couple of days. But I guess there's that. I'm going to keep scooping this out from here, hopefully not touching the chicken really. In case there's, a whole extra of this sauce I might experiment with a little bit. Actually, let me do that so that whatever's left in here is chicken part free. Beautiful. And I'm going to play with this stuff today. I'm one of those people, I love, I know it makes me so plebeian, but I absolutely love a spicy tuna roll at Momoya, which is really basically the only place I eat sushi, unless I'm on vacation somewhere. And so I like spicy mayonnaise, so simple to make, just a little sriracha, a couple of drops of sesame oil, yum. And so I love to mess with things like that and do things. I read an article the other day, the lady with the red hair who lives in Osage County, I can't say her name, but the pioneer woman, that's her name. She had like 4 or 5 recipes for just things to elevate your sandwich, and so like flavored mayonnaises and spicy honeys and that kind of stuff, or spicy honey mixed with mustards and just interesting stuff that I thought was really fun. And I thought, wow, so now here's a little base of something and I'm going to kind of play with and see if you can do that, because there's probably going to be some leftover chicken unless you invite yourself over for dinner tonight. So if you want to, we're going to have nice, flavorful rice, just simply steamed in this. I know I've sung its praises before. If you go to Trader Joe's, the hearty vegetable broth is amazing. I mean, really, there is no reason to use a meat broth, even if you're making a meat soup or a meat stock, because the stuff is so flavorful. I'm going to put a little pinch of salt into this, and that is it. That's all that's going to go into the rice steamer. And now that I see how this is, I'm probably instead going to steam this bok choy, and then probably whatever kind of a reduction I can manage out of this yummy stuff, and pan drippings and something like that. I might add that to the steaming pan just to get a little more aromatic. But this looks good, and that smells good. So guys, what's the story here on Cooking in Quarantine? Resveratrol makes you healthy. Eating food that you prepare yourself makes you healthier. Getting exercise every day makes sure you remain strong. And wearing a mask means you stay out of the medical system and you stay healthy. So boys and girls, this is episode 105 of Cooking in Quarantine, and I fully expect to be here for episode 300 before I get a vaccine. So I love you all. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for being here. We're going to try so hard to move this to YouTube. So watch my personal page if we are per private friends. Watch my personal page for updates on that progress. I love you guys. I hope everybody's well. Be safe. And don't go to maskless events in the Rose Garden. Ciao.